right, so let's talk about how this car really drives. Now, it has traction control, it has vehicle skid control, it even has a vehicle skid control sport mode that'll let you get a little bit loose with this car without getting it totally out of line. Now, what that really means is that it changes all the functions so that you get a little bit more pivot in the car. You get it so that it feels really sporty and really in tune with your driving style. However, if you want to have even more fun and you want to be kind of like TV personalities that hang the car out sideways all the time, you can turn the traction control and skid control completely off, and you can hang this car out like you're drifting all day long. And it is a more rear biased car, so this car will hang the tail out pretty easily. It especially if it's slick, you're going to like the fact that you have those traction control and anti-skid control features most of the time. But it is a nice car to drive. It is well balanced. It has electric steering with McPherson struts, and it just holds the road beautifully. It has a crisp, stiff ride, but it's not unpleasant. You don't feel like the camera's not like banging around over here. In fact, when we drove the Mini Coupe, I feel like the Mini Coupe had a much rougher ride than this, in more of an unpleasant sense than this car. This car has a nice balance between some shock absorbing, but still being real flat through the corners and being a real driver's car. So it is a sports suspension. It's not going to be soft at all, but it is dampening well, and that's really that's the thing you look for in a sports car. Does it dampen the bumps in the roads and the you're going to hit potholes, especially in town? And do you feel like your teeth are going to come out, or do you feel like, wow, I noticed that, but it wasn't unpleasant? And that's what the FR-S does well. It really drives nicely on a daily basis, and then lets you take it out to a track day or an autocross and really have a lot of fun. And the electric steering is fantastic. I mean, there is no play in this. The center feel is nice and firm, and then you get on the steering wheel and it is really accurate and fun to drive. And that is spectacular in a car of this price point, and it really awakens that sports car passion that I think we lost for some years in the automotive industry. This is not a car that is gooped up with a lot of stuff. You don't have a sunroof, you don't have navigation and all that. You have to do the navigation through your phone with the bespoke system. So there are options that will let you have that connectivity, but the inside's not cluttered with climate control and no steering wheel buttons. That's something that they did specifically in the FR-S because it's a driver's car, and they wanted the driver to be in tune with the road, not with all the stuff and features. So it's all reachable, and all the stuff, the trip displays and everything are there, but it's very understated and simple, and it's very driver oriented. And that's the key here in this car. If you love to drive, you love a sports car, and you want to be in a price point that's not going to break the bank, this car, I mean, this is really, from my perspective, I grew up when the Miata came out, and that car represented the same thing this did. Pure sports car passion with none of the kind of luxury bits that just kind of take away from it. This is pure driving in its pure form, and we really think that Toyota, Subaru, and Scion are doing a great job offering some different flavors. Now, there are a couple things in this car that could grind on your nerves a little bit. And one of those is that it does have a real key. Okay, that goes back to the simplicity. But it doesn't have the keyless touch, to get in and out, which if you're used to that in your other cars, and that comes in cars that in the same price point. So that's something that would be a worthwhile upgrade, to have the keyless push button start, because it is a nice convenience factor on a daily basis, especially when you're trying to get into the trunk and the doors and then you've got your hands full and all that. The other thing is that, I don't know if this is really, I'm just going to click this thing. What I'm doing is pulling up on what is the reverse release so you can get it over into reverse. It takes a little bit of getting used to, and I really don't like it. I like hydraulic lockouts where you just press down and over like the VWs, or you just, kind of have some extra pressure and you get it over and up into reverse. And the reason why is out on a track, you are almost never going to get down into first, especially not with this synchro transmission that you have in this car. Second's really going to be your most used gear in sports activity, and even out on the road. You're hardly ever at speed going to come into first unless you're really doing some aggressive and low speed hairpin type driving. And so the risk of getting up into reverse when it is over and up like it is in this car is pretty minimal. And this pull up thing, you don't know it's there. There's nothing to tell you to pull up on this, what looks like just a detail of the shift boot. So it's just a little odd, and it takes it's like you sit there kind of going, when you first get the car, you're kind of like, how the hell do you get this thing into reverse? You're like trying to jam it over. It's just one of those things. Now, something else that is pointless in this car is the back seat. I don't know who can sit back there. I'm 6 foot. Even if I put my 5'2" mother in here, I don't even think I could fold myself back there. I mean, this has one of the smaller back seats that I've seen. If I put my hand behind the seat, I can get my hand between the seat and the bottom of the back seat there, and that's about it. So you're going to have a really short passenger or a really short driver-passenger combination to use that back seat. But it's good for storing stuff. I mean, and it does finish out the look of the car. It's just a little bit pointless, like most of these two-door sports coupes. The other thing that we do want you to know, though, is that this has great cargo capacity, about 7 cubic feet, 6.9. Fold the back seats down, though, and Toyota and Subaru put a lot of thought into this. In this Scion FR-S, you can get 4 tires in the trunk and back seat with it, the back seat folded down, and that is meant so that you can take your tires to your autocross events and have them all in the car without having to do any funny business and still have a passenger. So there are a lot of good things about this car, and there's going to be those little nitpicky things. One of the other kind of nitpicky things that I have about this car is if you're going uphill at speed, you're going to find that your power really diminishes. That's what we found when we drove this car at the launch, and it's no different here. It has great flat power on the freeway, in town, on the curves, but if you're climbing grades, what you're going to notice is you really have to work the motor over to get up those grades, because your power, your peak power and your peak torque are up at 6,600 and 7,000 RPM. So that means that it's going to take quite a bit of RPM to get you up those grades, and it might just feel uncomfortable. Have no fear, though. The motor's designed to do it, and it's really not a big deal for most people. You're going to find driving this car in town most of the time that it is fast, fun, and that's what a sports car should be.